Hey, what's up, everybody? I just wanted to let you guys know I appreciate you guys coming here to watch this thing. This is going to be the first episode, and this is the only time I'm going to bring this up to you. I want to make it clear that I enjoy doing this. There's certain topics that I just love talking about. More importantly, I love connecting with you guys too. On Patreon, I've built some solid friendships over there, but I've also done that on YouTube, and there's certain people out there that I've really connected with, and I'd like to build on that a little bit more. And I think that this could be a way of doing that, where it's not just talking about music and me giving my opinion about a certain song that you may like or not like, that I do or don't, vice versa, and all that stuff. But also, let's keep it real here. This is also another way that I could pick up a few nickels and dimes here from YouTube too. So and then that is certainly not the reason for it, but it sure as hell doesn't hurt. Dirty's fallen on some hard financial times as of late, so every little bit helps. So I do appreciate the support and you guys watching this and making your way through it. You may hate me by the end of it, or you may love me by the end of it. Who knows? But I hope you guys enjoy it. All right. See you soon. Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Dirty's Podcast, your favorite podcast. It's the first one. Sometimes I might say things that'll make you say, Dirty, what the hell are you talking about? As a matter of fact, a lot of you that watch my reactions probably say that from time to time. Dirty, what the hell are you talking about, Skip? No. So basically here, this one here is just, it's very informal. It's going to be very loose. There's not going to be a whole lot of direction on this. I do have a topic that I'm going to discuss a little bit today, but it's really more of a topic just to kind of give me some direction to talk about, some talking points. But understand that, and what we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk a little football today, a little bit of college, and then some current events that are going on in the NFL, and maybe even a couple of predictions. But, this is more of a way of gauging your level of interest. If we get 1,000 views on this one, and I can check out the analytics page to see how long you're watching and all of that stuff. If there's enough interest out there in it, we'll go ahead and dive a little deeper in. And I think what we'll do is we'll do it on Wednesdays, and it will be much more scripted. That way I'm not going off on a tangent too much there. I tend to do that. You guys know that. And it kind of keeps me a little bit more concise and uniform. But I'm looking for ways of connecting with you guys a little bit more, first of all. And there are a lot of people out there on YouTube that aren't even necessarily patrons over at Patreon that, I've conversed with quite a bit, and all different types of forums. By the way, you're going to love this one. Okay, this is what happens. This is what happens when you don't have a plan of action here. But this just popped in my head. I got to show you. I'm not going to show it to you. I was thinking about showing it to you, but I'm not the type of person to lay somebody out like this. So we're going to refer to this person as AD. Okay? This is a direct message on Twitter. And I'm going to skip parts of it, but basically, because it went on forever. But it basically begins with, it took me forever to find you on Twitter because you have less than 1,000 followers. I am a Swiftie. I have no idea. I never heard that term before. I will admit it. But I just watched your reaction to Love Story. Love Story is it's a Taylor Swift song that I reacted to. I really wasn't into it. Way too poppy for me. And didn't seem very country to me either, by the way. Anyway, okay. So Taylor Swift has more talent in her pinky than you have in your entire career. That's probably true. Okay, let me just skip to the last part here. All right. This is my favorite one. You guys are going to love this. And don't try to make this a black and white thing. First of all, if the picture and the icon is this person, he is white. I am white. I don't know what that means. And then in all caps, it says, some of my best friends are black. So let's talk some football. First of all, I was thinking about talking about Andrew Luck. And I think a lot of us have seen the footage of the booing, as he came off the field, as I think it was Adam Schefter of ESPN had tweeted out that Andrew Luck was retiring. And this is during the preseason game that they were in, and in Indianapolis, and he wasn't in pads, he was in a t-shirt, and as he walks off the field, he was surrounded by a chorus of boos, which, from what I understand, was only about 30 to 40% of the fan base that was there, but they try to make it sound like the entire stadium was booing him or whatever. And you know what? Let me back up here a little bit. A lot of you know, but maybe some of you don't know, I am a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, and I'm not going to deny that, and I'm not going to hide it, and I'm not going to pretend that I'm not. As you guys know, I keep everything real. I am a Red Wings fan, and I am a Steelers fan, and I am a Notre Dame football fan. Okay? But I am able to be objective. Okay? So, and I think that that's what might help keep some success going with this idea of this podcast if we talk about sports, that's a very small thing of what we're going to tackle in this podcast. And we'll get to that at the end. I think, in the minority. I think that with the exception of one person, who I'm going to see if I can't pull it up, and if I do, I'll post it up here for you guys. There's this one fucking moron who, I don't know, he seemed to try to make it about him. He takes off his Andrew Luck jersey, and he's standing there going, I don't even know what the fuck that was about. Anyway, you look like an idiot, by the way.
Fuck you, Andrew.
But with that said, I'm going to tell you guys, I think they had every right to boo. And let me state my case here. First of all, it's week 3 of the preseason. We're in week 4 now of the preseason. That was actually at the end of week 3. So we're in week 4 of the preseason, right? In a week and a half, we have a football game. Actually, I think it's next week. A week from tomorrow, I think. I could be wrong about that. Anyway, now that means that they went this entire offseason assuming Andrew Luck was going to be back. Their backup is Jacoby Brissett. Jacoby is not Andrew Luck in any way, shape, or form. And it's not a knock on Jacoby Brissett. What I mean by that is Andrew Luck is he's more of a Ben Roethlisberger, Cam Newton type player, right? He's going to hang in the pocket a little too long, but that's part of their success, right? That's what makes Cam Newton. That's what makes Ben Roethlisberger. And you take a beating. You take an absolute beating because you hang on to that ball for 0.3 of a second too long. But it's why receivers have that extra 0.3 of a second to get open. Okay? And so that's why, even though he's really hasn't played much in the NFL, that he did have an 11-5 season. He did very well for himself. But so here we are in week 4 of the preseason. Jim Irsay, the owner, goes into the offseason assuming that Andrew Luck is going to be the quarterback. So do you draft a quarterback? Of course not. You've got Andrew Luck and you got Jacoby Brissett, who started a lot of games, especially last year, played pretty well. But then you also, in the offseason, you build a team around Andrew Luck. And again, Jacoby Brissett is not Andrew Luck. They're completely different style players. Okay? Pittsburgh has Ben Roethlisberger and they have Joshua Dobbs. 2 completely different players. Josh Dobbs is not going to succeed in the same system that Ben Roethlisberger is going to succeed in. Okay? That would be like trying to, back in the days of Mike Vick, trying to put Cam Newton on that team. It's just not going to work. Cam Newton would fit beautifully where Matt Ryan plays because they're much more aligned. Those teams are built around those types of quarterbacks. They're pocket quarterbacks. So now you've done all of this, and elephant in the room, it's $12.5 million against the cap this year. It's another $6.5 million against the cap next year, all because he waited until week 4 of the preseason to check out. Yeah, I'm sorry. I think that the Indianapolis Colts fans had every right to be pissed off. You just went from, what is it, the AFC Central South? AFC South contender to probably hanging down there with Jacksonville. They're going to be better than Jacksonville. But I don't know, man. I think they had every right to be pissed off. So that's where I stand on that. And I think that I have 2 feet to stand on with it. Everybody, he walks away with a boatload of money. Yes, he left a boatload on the table. But he walked away with a boatload of money for the amount of work that he put in. When you looked at logged hours of how much he actually played, that guy was severely overpaid. So now you've got Jacoby Brissett, who's going to be your week 1 starter. and with no expectations of Andrew Luck ever coming back again. So, it's like the old Frank Reich syndrome, which ironically isn't Frank Reich. He's their head coach now. I'm old enough to remember this, but Jim Kelly was the quarterback for Buffalo Bills. This is back in the early mid-90s. And he got hurt one day, and Frank Reich came in, backup quarterback, and he came in and just lit it up, man. And next thing you know, everybody is like, oh my God, Frank Reich's the shit. Well, other than being a head coach now, does anybody know who the fuck Frank Reich is? Scott Mitchell. Same thing in Detroit. Stepped in for a few games, signs a huge contract, and I think Miami Dolphins. Does anybody remember him? It's a lot easier sometimes coming in as the backup than it is knowing that everything falls on your shoulders. So this is going to be a very interesting year for Jacoby Brissett. And then you have, look, how many times have we seen Ben Roethlisberger get smacked, right? Because he hangs onto that ball. How many times have we seen Aaron Rodgers, Cam Newton, again, Matt Ryan, these guys get smacked for hanging onto that ball too long? If Cam Newton fell out of the game the other night. I mean, he's walking off in a soft cast. Thankfully for Carolina, Ron Rivera said yesterday, I think it was, that he will be the starter in week 1, which so good for Cam. But these guys take a beating too, man. And I don't know. I'm not saying that he doesn't have every right to retire. He does. But don't say that the Indianapolis Colts don't have every right to be pissed off, because they do. So, so since we're talking about quarterbacks primarily, let me pull this up here. Let's talk about Heisman. You know what? I never knew how to pronounce the guy's name, so we'll just call him Tua. Tagovailoa, something like that. Anyway, he's a quarterback for Alabama. Apparently, he's the odds-on favorite to win it. Not so sure I agree with that. I don't like judging people on their looks. All right. But if ever anybody ever looked like a quarterback, it's Trevor Lawrence, man. The dude just looks like a quarterback. He's especially an NFL quarterback. If anybody looked like an NFL quarterback, Trevor Lawrence looks like an NFL quarterback. Now, he's number 2. Then we got Justin Fields from Ohio State. Now, listen, I have a lot of Ohio State friends. I'm from that area. And I obviously have all my kids are Michigan fans. So, and by the way, just so most of my kids, they're in Toledo. And Shea Patterson is from Toledo. Well, he lived in Toledo for a long time, and then they ended up moving. But Jim Harbaugh was born in Toledo, and Urban Meyer was born in Toledo, and I think just like a couple of months apart or a couple of weeks apart, maybe a few days. So that was always interesting, especially last year. They kind of made a big deal about that. But anyway, so Justin Fields, number 3 at Heisman running right now, as far as odds go. He's a plus 900. I don't know, man. I'm not. I would have him down a lot further than that. Let me tell you who I would slide up. Jake Fromm from Georgia. Okay, he is a plus 1,400. Him and Sam Ellinger, who's a plus 1,500. I got to tell you, man, I'll bet you halfway through the season they're in the top 3. I'll bet you. At least top 4. I think Trevor Lawrence is probably going to overtake Tua. I think Tua's going to slide down to 2 by the midway point of the season. And listen, Tua is only a plus 250, whereas Trevor is only a 2 plus 75. So there's a 0.25 difference, and so they're basically tied. So, but this is how they have the odds set up. But Fromm and Ellinger at 7 and 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. Yeah, come on, man. And then Shea Patterson at 10. That one sounds about right. Now, Ian Book is 14th at a plus 3,500. Ian Book is the quarterback for Notre Dame. I love my Fighting Irish. Okay. I love the history there. I've been there and a couple of times and watched games in person, and it was quite a drive for us, but just the experience of being there, it's a very special place, man. I've been to Michigan. I've been to the Shoe in Ohio State. Notre Dame is so you can feel it as soon as you're on campus. There's just something you feel when you look up and you see the touchdown Jesus and the stadium and the dome and all of this stuff. I may post a couple pictures up there just to show you anyway, but very, very cool. Very, very cool place to be. So I'm going to say halfway through the season. So we're going to go, I don't know, somewhere around mid-October. Okay. We're going to come back and I'm going to say that Trevor Lawrence is leading the odds, that Tua is slightly behind him. I'm going to go with Ellinger at 3rd, and then Fromm is 4th. Yeah. And then Jalen Hurts. And then Jalen Hurts at 5. That's all I'm going to pick. But Justin Fields for Ohio State, I'm going to make a bold prediction. I'm going to say that he's not in the top 10. And I'm going to get so many text messages as soon as this gets posted. We have no idea the hate that is about to come Dirty's way. Okay, so enough about quarterbacks. So let's talk about, you know what? Hang on one second. I'll be right back, you guys. I got to shut this camera off real quick. I'll be right back. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go division by division. And I just got the divisions pulled up by teams, and I'm not going to give you win-losses, but I am going to pick division in order, how they will finish at the halfway point. So we're going to go to the end of, no, we're going to go mid. We'll do the same thing as we did for the college. We'll go to mid-October. Okay. So let's start in the NFC. Let's go NFC South. Boy, this is going to be a lot tougher. I know the odds-on favorite is going to be New Orleans Saints. Okay. As a matter of fact, probably in a big time way. I think that this is probably going to be one of the toughest divisions to predict. But I'm going to go with New Orleans with a caveat. And that caveat is how long Cam Newton stays healthy, and if things work out contractually with Julio Jones. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go New Orleans, Carolina, Atlanta, Tampa. Tampa is going through some serious growing pains right now. Quarterback situation right now is, in my opinion, really up in the air. Matty Ice is he's a big time quarterback, but he's big time when it doesn't count. Cam is big time when it counts, but sometimes he plays through too much, and he doesn't know when to go down. He has got to learn to go down. I'd rather see him take the sack. I'd rather see him take an early sack, not when he's holding on to the ball too long. Just drop. Quit getting hurt, man. And then, I got to go New Orleans, but I'm telling you right now, out of all of the divisions that we're going to pick here, I think that this one is the one that could have the most movement. Not with Tampa, but I could very easily see Carolina or Atlanta being at the top at the midway season. But I am going to stick to it. New Orleans, Carolina, Atlanta, Tampa, and then we're going to move on to the NFC North. We're going to go Green Bay as the winner, with yet another caveat. You know, I know it's not fair to keep putting in these caveats, but they're real because we got a brand new head coach, LeFleur, and it depends on how much influence Aaron Rodgers has over his head coach. They clearly brought in LeFleur because they needed somebody that was going to give Aaron Rodgers more of a speaking voice. That's my personal opinion. It's pure hyperbole and guesswork, but my guess is that is why that they brought LeFleur in. So we're going to go... I hate to disappoint you guys, you Chicago Bear fans, but I'm going to go Green Bay edging out Minnesota, and then Chicago, and then Detroit. We will be revising this mid-October. NFC West. We're going Rams. Gurley is a beast, and I know that he struggled in a couple important games, but I blame coaching on that a little bit. I think they should have just kept running Gurley a lot more than they did. I think we may have had a different outcome. If they would have just kept feeding Gurley more. He was at some point he's a monster, man. He's a fucking monster, and at some point he was going to break through. Would he have 47 yards, something like that? That's not enough. You got to give him more attempts to break through to take that 47 to at least 97 or 127. You have a different outcome there. But we're going to go, I almost said St. Louis Rams. 30's old. So we're going to go LA Rams, We're going to go Seattle Seahawks and San Francisco and Arizona. Listen, I understand Kyler Murray. He's possibly the next up and coming thing in the NFL. But what I've seen so far, and I know we got all these vanilla defenses and vanilla offenses and all of that stuff, but you know what? It's all about execution. I don't care how fucking vanilla it is. I don't care if you're running just a simple T formation that you teach in Pop Warner. It's about execution, and he's not executing. Sorry. So we're going in LA, Seattle, San Francisco, Arizona Cardinals. And then last but not least, we have the NFC East, which is a very interesting one. And it's interesting because of all of our problems in Dallas. Zeke, it is not a good look. I hate to tell you this. Again, I told you guys before, I got a lot of friends that are OSU fans, Ohio State fans, and they love their Zeke. But it's not a good look sitting in Cabo. You need to be in camp. Julio Jones is in camp. Dak Prescott is in camp. Get in camp, man. It's a bad look. Look what happened to Le'Veon Bell in Pittsburgh. I can speak from experience because I'm a huge Steelers fan, and I watched it in real time, and I read every article about it. And let me tell you something. Le'Veon, you lost. You lost. First of all, it took less money than what Pittsburgh was. Now it becomes a matter of principle. There's no such thing as principle when it comes to your money. You would be the first person to ever stand up on principle in the NFL. Okay, you lost money. You left money on the table. And, excuse me. Sorry about that, guys. Zeke, get in camp. So we have yet another caveat, right? If Zeke shows up to camp, they get the deal done, which I think they will. Zeke's not showing up to camp. So he's going to be like Le'Veon did when they franchise tagged him. It took Le'Veon 4 weeks to catch up. That's what's so important about preseason football. And then he was on a roll after that, but he missed out on all of that. And I'm telling you right now, it's going to happen to Zeke. He's going to start out slow and at least a couple weeks in. So, and I don't have the schedules pulled up right now, but I can tell you right now, depending on who they're playing, right, they better hope that it's the Giants as one of them, or Washington. I should have pulled those up, but anyway. So if Zeke shows up, if they get Dak's deal done, and listen, Jerry Jones talks about the piece of pie, right? We got a piece of pie here, right? So you've got Van Esch or whatever the hell his name is. You got two other people that are waiting on some money. And here you have Zeke, who got 2 years left on his contract. And he wants a big chunk of that pie. Dak wants a big chunk of that pie. There's no pie left. Now what are you going to do? You have arguably the best offensive line in football. Get in camp. So we're going to go Dallas, Philly. We're going to go New York Giants, and then Washington. Washington is just in absolute shambles. They are an absolute mess. I could see Washington ended up being the worst team in football this year. and that's saying something because you've got Cincinnati out there, you've got Tampa out there, you got some really bad teams out there. So yeah. So we're gonna go Dallas, Philly, Giants, Redskins. So we're going to now we're shooting over to the AFC. AFC, let me see how much time we got left here. Okay, we should be okay here. All right. So obviously Indianapolis Colts just took a nosedive. So I would not have put them up there with Andrew Luck. And I know a lot of people have them as their number one pick, but I'm going Houston. I'm not sure what's going on with Jadeveon Clowney. If he's going to end up in Philly, that could really change things up in the NFC East, I think it is, with Dallas. And boy, that could really shake things up. So anyway, we're going to go Houston, Tennessee, and I'm going to tell you something. I think that Tennessee scared me the other night, though, when I watched them play the Steelers. They did not look good, and they better get that quarterback situation straightened out real quick. All right? So we're going to go Houston and then Tennessee, and Indy edging out by one game, Jacksonville. So now we're going to go to the AFC West. Gee, I wonder who's going to win this one. Patrick Mahomes is one scary man. He is very, very scary. Obviously, Chiefs are going to win that division, and I think in a big way. I don't know what the deal with Melvin Gordon is right now. That's gonna kill the Chargers. Without that running game, Phillip Rivers is going to be in deep doo-doo. So we're gonna go KC, Los Angeles, Denver. I'm saying, you know what? I'm not being objective here. But I think Denver's going to edge out Oakland. Now, when I say I'm not being objective, obviously everybody knows the story with AB and Ben and the Steelers and Mike Tomlin. And let me tell you something. All you Steelers fans that are hating on Mike Tomlin, he's a good coach. And you don't have to have a coach. And I know I saw what Rod Woodson said, that they're basically a bunch of teenagers that you kind of have to corral. They're not teenagers. They're grown men, Rod. And I hate saying that because Rod Woodson is one of my all-time favorite Pittsburgh Steelers. But they're not teenagers, Rod. They're grown men. And you treat them like grown men. You treat them like a human being. The days of grabbing a guy by the face mask and screaming at him are long gone. It doesn't work that way anymore. We've evolved as a human race, and we've evolved in our forms of discipline. Now, when it comes to AB, do I think that Mike Tomlin made some missteps? Absolutely. I think that he should have sat him a couple times. I think that they had sat AB a couple of times, and even Le'Veon one time, not by the league, but by you, Mike Tomlin. I think that we may have a different outcome. With that said, he's still a very, very good coach. So, but I don't think AB is a difference maker. Defense is shit. Offensive line is not the Pittsburgh Steelers offensive line. Dallas arguably has the best offensive line in football, but let me tell you something. Pittsburgh Steelers line is not too far behind it. And Derek Carr is not Ben Roethlisberger. Hate to tell you that, EB. Your numbers are going to drop like a bag of sand. I would be shocked if AB got 90 receptions this year. Doubt me. We'll see. We'll see. We'll talk again about this. All right. Last but not least, and I saved this one because, not just because the Pittsburgh Steelers are in this one, but because there is a lot of controversy about this topic here. There are, I'd say, many more predictors out there that are taking the Browns to win the division. I'm going to tell you, I think the Browns finish third. Not even second. Baltimore is not a 7-9 team. They're not an 8-8 team. They're a 9-7 team. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers, first of all, they've got a lot to prove. Ben has a lot to prove. Juju has a lot to prove. James Conner has a lot to prove. Mike Tomlin has a lot to prove. These guys have an edge to them right now. And I wouldn't want to be any team in the NFL and have to be playing in that division against what the Pittsburgh Steelers are facing right now. Yes, I do think that Baker Mayfield is a solid quarterback, and he is the quarterback of their future. Finally, there's going to be some kind of contest between the Browns and the Steelers again. I mean, this rivalry died 25 years ago. It's been pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. Odell Beckham. Can he stay injury-free? I don't know. We don't know that. He's already limping. You know. Jarvis Landry, he's solid. Nick Chubb, solid running back. I'm concerned about Cleveland's offensive line. I'm concerned about Cleveland's defense. They're finished in third. I hate to tell you, Browns fans, this is not your year. Next year, with some growing pains getting out of the way, I think you're in a much better position. This is not your year. Pittsburgh Steelers, Baltimore Ravens, Cleveland Browns, and Cincinnati Bengals might be the worst team in the NFL. I truly think that that's quite possible. Marvin Lewis was notorious for not. And who was their new coach? I forget now. But Marvin Lewis was notorious for, I don't think he ever won a playoff game, did he? I don't know. But they don't have anything. The quarterback position, the running back position, the offensive line. At least they got rid of a couple of cancers on the defense. Which ironically, one of them's now in Oakland. I don't know, man. Cincinnati is a mess. I would argue that Cincinnati is in worse trouble than Cleveland was ever in. They've got a long road ahead of them. Sorry, Bengals fans, but that is a fact. And I can tell you right now, out of everything that I've said during this podcast, come mid-October, that's the one that I will stand behind the most. That's the one that I can guarantee you will not change. If I could only pick one thing that I've said in all of this stuff, That's the one thing that will not change. I will be shocked if Cincinnati has 4 wins by mid-October. I will be stunned. And those are only going to be division wins. You know, divisions are. I mean, when you play in a division, it's a different animal. You know, so I guess I should look at their schedule before I say something like that, because it depends on how many division games they have at that point in time. But the Steelers, game 1, Sunday night game, I believe it is. New England Patriots. That's going to be interesting because no Gronk. Sony Michel is he's a scary player. Hang on one second here. Hang on one second. Sorry about that. I completely missed it. As I started speaking about it, I'm like, wait a minute. We're talking about New England. We didn't even talk about New England. Jesus Christ. My bad, guys. Sorry about that. New England Patriots are not going to repeat this year. They have, listen, and I know people say this every year and then they end up doing it. I have not been one of those guys. As a Steelers fan, they're the ones that give me the nightmares because the Steelers just cannot find a way to beat them. They just can't do it. But, and I'm not making Super Bowl predictions, playoff predictions at this point. We're going to do that in mid-October. But I'm concerned for New England this year. Sony Michel is a good running back. They have a good offensive line. They have a pretty decent defense. They have the best coach in football. But I'm concerned about Brady. His numbers are dropping. And now if he makes it to the playoffs, we're having a different conversation. But I don't know that he does. There's a bold prediction for you. I'm going New York Jets, picking up Le'Veon Bell. Sam Darnold is second year now, and he's a scary player. Who's their wide receiver? Starts with a C. Jameson Crowder. That I think Jets win the division. So I'm going New York Jets. Obviously New England Patriots. You know, if there is a worse team than the Cincinnati Bengals in football, it's the Miami Dolphins. You want to talk about nightmares. So anyway, we're going New York, New England, Buffalo, Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins, I heard just a little while ago, maybe going after Jadeveon Clowney. Why? Why are you doing that? That makes zero sense. That makes zero sense to me. Yeah. Jets are taking that division this year. I will see you again on this subject for sure. It's not that we won't talk some more football. We can do that. But as far as predictions go, we're not going to revisit that until sometime in mid-October. All right? But I hope you guys enjoyed it a little bit. Let me know what you think. And just so you know, we're not talking sports only. As a matter of fact, we're going to talk very little bit about sports. I pick sports because it's a little more whimsical and keeps things a little lighter. But I do really want to dive a little deeper into some social issues. Not necessarily politics, but social issues. And you know, and some other topics of interest to me that may surprise you. I have some theories on some things that just might surprise you. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Dirty's podcast here, episode number 1. It's a tentative episode number 1. All right. Hey, everybody out there, peace.